Heavenly Father, today we put on the full armor to protect us against attack. We put on the belt of truth to protect against lies and deception. We put on the breastplate of righteousness to protect our hearts from the temptations. We put the gospel of peace on our feet to walk in your light, peace, and freedom with the Holy Spirit. We rebuke anxious thoughts. We take up your shield of faith for protection to block and destroy all the darts and threats thrown at us by the enemy. We put on the helmet of salvation to cover our minds and thoughts, reminding us that we are children of a mighty King. We are forgiven, set free, saved by the blood of Jesus. We take up the sword of the Spirit, your living word, that has the power to demolish strongholds and is sharper than any double-edged sword. We come to you, Lord, in prayer daily. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. What's up, you guys? Welcome to The Imagination. I'm your host, Emma, and today I'm honored to finally have on the show to introduce you all to Australian satanic ritual abuse, medical abuse, and child sexual abuse survivor, 20-year whistleblower, loving mother and devoted wife, animal lover, lifelong student of criminology and justice, movie and music connoisseur, qualified hairdresser, content creator, podcaster, and someone I'm absolutely honored to call my sister and dear friend, Lisa Gillard. Lisa entered this world into a dark legacy, a multi-generational family steeped in ritual abuse and occult practices. As the eldest child, she was thrust into a life of trauma from birth, grappling with the congenital anomaly that required multiple surgeries. Between the ages of 3 and 4, her early memories are marred by the haze of anesthesia, unsupervised solitude, and the sinister presence of her abusers, her biological father and stepfather, who met through their work. Together, they orchestrated her abuse not only at home, but also by trafficking her to a network of pedophiles and occult practitioners, further entrenching her in a cycle of suffering and control. At 24, married and a mother, Lisa's life took a dramatic turn when the floodgates of her repressed memories burst open. Torrents of horrifying recollections reshaped her understanding of her past, revealing a life of darkness that she had dissociated from to survive. This revelation was the beginning of her piecing together the fragments of her existence, answering the silent questions that had echoed in her mind for years. Since that pivotal moment, Lisa has embarked on a profound journey of healing, advocacy, and truth-telling. She has become a beacon of hope, speaking at events, rallies, and schools, and sharing her testimony on international platforms. Her growth over the years has been remarkable, transforming her from a survivor to a warrior for justice. I met Lisa early on in my podcasting journey, and her support, love, and encouragement have been pivotal, not just for me, but for countless others. Lisa's approach is one of compassion, validation, and fierce protection, offering a safe haven for other survivors. She has spent 2 decades not only healing herself, but also empowering others, confronting naysayers and trolls with unwavering courage. Today, having Lisa share her testimony on this podcast feels like a monumental milestone. It's an opportunity for us to rally around her now, to give back the love and support she has so generously offered. Her story is a testament to resilience, a narrative of healing amidst the ruins of horror, and a celebration of love that transcends the darkest of pasts. We are privileged to hear what was once silenced, blessed by her presence here today. I urge you all to set aside any distractions, to listen intently, to embrace and uplift Lisa just as she has done for all of you. This is not just Lisa's story. It's a circle of healing, a testament to the power of speaking out, and a reminder of the strength found in community. Before I finish introducing today's guest, I wanted to give just a couple quick reminders and updates. If you'd like to be on the show, share any information privately with me, or send me a written testimony for my upcoming book series or to be written in a Substack article, you can email me at imagineabetterworld2020@gmail.com or standbysurvivors@protonmail.com. As some of you know, my YouTube channel was recently terminated, and I'm being forced to pivot and use other streaming platforms to get this important information out to the public and disclosure community. Your support would mean the world to me on platforms like Rumble and X, where I'm currently streaming. I also just started another YouTube channel with the handle @ImaginationPodcastOfficial that I will be rebuilding, and I would love to have you all subscribe there as well while I figure out how my new presence on YouTube will look in order to dodge the censorship and backlash for speaking out about these difficult topics. Thank you all for helping to make the imagination the safest space on the internet for survivor, whistleblower, advocate, and educator disclosures. So you guys, without further ado, please give a heartfelt welcome to today's guest of honor, a true beacon of faith and hope, a champion for the silenced, walking miracle, unwavering advocate for survivors and against child abuse, a living testament to resilience, a warrior of light, and an inspiration to us all, the one, the only, Lisa Gillard. Yeah, thank you so much for being here with us today. Finally.
Oh my gosh. Don't start me crying already. Oh my God. That was amazing.
It is such an honor to have you on. You know, you were one of the first people that sort of began championing what I was doing in this podcast, and somebody that like I really saw early on just giving her heart and soul to survivors and, so bravely advocating for them. And you've given me so much courage and encouragement along the way. And I know timing is everything, but I have wanted for years now to share your story and to give the puzzle piece that you are to all the other puzzle pieces out there, just as you've done and have had done for you. So it's just an absolute honor to finally get to share your story on here, Lisa.
I'm so grateful. It's been, like you just said, Emma, it's been so long. It feels so long, but it feels like perfect time right now. So, and like I'm so proud of you, like just watching you grow and literally grow everything. But I'm also sad that your channel is taken down. So yes, everybody do that, please, because Emma put so much hard work into this and it's not easy. I hope you have someone that you can upload to because it's a lot. So thank you so much for all your hard work. I really appreciate it personally. And I know all of our survivor community also does. So thank you. And I feel honored to be here.
It's an honor to
Thank you,
have you
honey.
here, and it's an honor to be a part of this. I know it's hard for you, it's hard for me. None of us want to be doing this. This should have stopped decades ago, and you've seen the evolution more than a lot of people, having been a whistleblower and being awake to all of this for so long, and um I was going to start at the beginning of your story, but I sort of want to start just by asking you, on in this 20 years, how have you seen the evolution of speaking out? Are you seeing sort of a snowball start to roll now? Are you noticing a difference? Like, what was it like back then compared to now?
That is such a good first question. Um, well, because like, when I first, well, even before I first started having memories and stuff, it was in 1999. So what are we? We're 2025. So there was nothing like even around child sexual abuse, like I never, you know. So yeah, I it was just it's just been so amazing. It was 2020 actually. That would have been when it really started to unroll. Um I don't want to go into full on stuff, but that was when I was like, oh my gosh, there's more people like me. And as much as that sounds, that's not really good, but it was just like, oh, like I can breathe, like I'm not the only one. And I know lots of people have shared that before, but to see that from like, to fight and fight and fight, like to just, no, I'm not crazy. Like, no, from when I was 24 to now I'm 50, watching that whole journey, like you just said, like people just slowly, very slowly starting to speak out. I think there was like one book back in the when I started, trying to find information about it was crazy. So now to be like doing this like on social media is just mind blowing, literally. Like to be able to speak across the world like you do and like I get to do to other survivors, warriors, like whatever you want to call yourself a victim. So I don't have like a, you know, we can all go through, swap and change every day through whatever. And there's no shame in that. But to see that happen is just amazing. Like it's incredible. And yeah, like I love that you said trolls. And I'm not going to stick on that part. Yes, I have had my, like you would, Emma, you do. We, because we're telling the truth. And inevitably, it's going to happen. And I don't want to, harp on those because we don't need that. They always out themselves anyway. So
They always do.
God put God puts out the trash. That's the way I kind of think.
Oh, I love that. That's so true. Yes. And that's one thing that I love about you is you are just like so fearless with like how you stand up for survivors. You just have this you're a mother to all of us. You're like mothering this community and you've been for so many years. And I think that's like so important for people to just see that like people are putting their foot down and saying, "No, you can't do that." That's not okay. And it encourages other people to be like, "Yeah, she's right. Like that's not okay." So I love like you're so strong with your advocacy and you give other people courage to put their foot down and to not be scared of that because it's inevitable whether you're telling the truth about this or something else. There's always going to be that opposition that's coming.
Always, especially when you're telling the truth. And the biggest thing I do want to say is like the thing that we don't have to rehearse anything because it like the liars do. They have to try and remember they have to remember their lies. We don't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a flow. And so yeah, I don't know. I say I can smell them from a mile away. It's just whether it be on here or anywhere, I'm like, no. And like you said, I like yes, I am a mum, but I think even before, like I'm just very protective just of other people. So don't mess with me when I'm cranky about that stuff.
Yeah, you became who you needed as a child, and that is just
Yeah.
like the best example of a role model and something we should all strive to do. And you've had so long to consider everything and to see so many, whistleblowers come forward and survivors to hear so many parts of different stories, to watch this movement evolve. And so I think there's going to be just so much value in both your wisdom of what you know now and in your past and what you've learned from that, to offer people. So let's start getting into your story, and sharing your journey with
Go.
people. Let's go back before you and your sibling was here. And let's maybe sort of lay a foundation of who your family was just from what you've been able to pick up. I know some of these details can be hard to find, especially, looking in hindsight. But I know you figured out a little bit about your past and your family history. So I'd love to sort of share with people where you think it started or as far back as and then sort of how this set you up to be put into that next generation.
Well, I was very blessed a few years ago to actually find my medical, well, not find, I put in it's called FOI, Freedom of Information, and to get my medical reports because, as you said, I was born with a congenital condition, um, and because the year that I was born, 1974, in Australia, it was very rare. So I have like obviously I won't show you all, but it's like thick.
Amazing. So many survivors struggle to get any medical records. That's incredible that you were given all of that.
And I just want to show just because, this it is me. It's probably back the front. It says Lisa Airy. So that was the name, my birth name that I was born with. But when I got this, it was like Pandora's box. That's what I will call it. When I opened it, we're going back before. I'll go back a little bit before. I'll go back and forth. But um, my mom, my mother, and my biological dad. Would you like me to start there? Yeah. Okay. So my mother came from Ireland and my biological dad is Australian. And she was already married when she came. and she was only 18 years old. Um, so she came over with her husband for a honeymoon. My belief and what I have been told, like many of us survivors, it's kind of like picking at a big tapestry of like what's true and what's not true. But this is she came and I believe she was getting away from what it was a crazy over in Ireland, just the fighting and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so she had nowhere to go. My my nana, who is probably the only person that I really loved and trust. She's passed away now, but she looked after me. She took my mother in, and then I was conceived. Um, so, but we're still unsure of who my actual biological father is. So, because my nana had, I hope this makes sense, because in my brain it sounds all jubble jubble, but my nana had three children, and she was in her second marriage, so she was quite young as a grandmother. Um, Her eldest son was in the Air Force at a young age, and so he would come and go. And then there was my biological, I say biological dad because I don't like to call him father or dad. That's just how it is. And then there was my auntie. So there's some, and I won't say who my sibling is because that's just a privacy thing. And so I'm the eldest, and then there's a sibling. So I was told at some point, quite often in my young life, that my mother wasn't quite sure who was my father was, my biological father was. It could be my uncle or, yeah. So that's kind of how it started. And it was kind of like, flippant. But when I was actually born, so prior to that, I won't get into the medical stuff yet. Prior to that, so my nana's side, which is my dad, my biological dad, all through the female, as far as I know, all through the female side, every eldest daughter was raped as far back as I found out. To my great grandmother on that side. Then you've got my mother's side. Um, don't know a lot, but I do know that like it was a very dysfunctional family. She's one of four. She is also the eldest child and female. Um, Coming from Ireland, just learning stuff, just doing my own research as well on her because she was very, very just. I think it's just that culture as well. Like even back in the 70s, it was very like you don't talk about stuff. So it was that as well. Um, I think she just wanted to get away from there, obviously, but I did hear that she had been, I'll say, raped as a young woman. So she never told me that herself, but all signs show that she did. So I don't know about any cult like before I was born, cult stuff or anything or SRA stuff. It all started with me as far as I know. I don't believe that it did, obviously, but I don't have the evidence at this point.
That makes
So I'll
sense.
just
Do you remember like your parents being like very dissociative or like what was their relationship like with you and kind of like what you could see?
oh well my mum and biological father never married.
Gotcha.
So because she was still married and the Catholic Church and blah 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 all that kind of stuff. So um he was only 19 when I was born. So they were very young parents. Like she was 21. Sorry, I'm just moving around because my back gets sore.
Okay, no worries.
Um, yeah, so yeah, it just didn't. I do recall a lot as like when I was little. He was never there. He was always away. He was always going on a trip or a shooting trip or a hunting trip or so my mum was essentially like a single mum, I guess.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's what I recall. It was usually just her, myself, and my sibling, and we moved around a lot. The beauty of getting my medical records back that up because it gave me all the addresses and everything. Like I was just like, wow, I'm not like I remembered that, but to have that confirmed is so empowering for someone, any survivor of anything. It's just no, because I thought I was totally loopy when I started recalling stuff. So to have that was just amazing and sad at the same time because it
Yeah,
just is
'cause
like
you'd rather be
my
crazy. Like that's the thing people don't understand. People will be like, "Oh, these survivors, like where's your proof?" And you're crazy if you think that. And it's like, trust me, like they wish
we
that they were crazy and that this was all fake. Like nobody wants this to be real, what you're saying, like insane. That's what's insane is to think somebody would want that to be real, you know?
I know like that's the like every every time you would say I've remembered such and such, I would immediately, and I know I'm not the only one because I've watched like many of your show, like your many of your survivors on your show, like it's the same pattern. We all immediately go to I'm crazy because our brain has protected us for so long, like from that horror. Like, so we could actually, be somewhat normal and go to school and do all those things. No, we're not crazy. We're actually quite intelligent, apparently.
Very 100%. Yes. And I
Yeah.
agree, like that's amazing that you were able to get those because even though you, like I said, you don't want this to be true, like your heart and your mind know when something is true. And so you can't shake it off. And so to be able to have it confirmed and validated, even though you
Oh,
don't want it to be true, you know it is, but to see it and to be like, okay, I'm this is my proof that I'm not crazy. I knew that I wasn't. I felt it, but I know that I'm not crazy. I'm a smart, put together person. Like I'm resilient and I'm a good person. Like I'm not crazy. So to have that validation is really awesome. And not a lot of survivors have that. So let's talk about your birth. Like you came into the world you know, with a really hard thing that happened to you right away. And so let's talk about that and talk about some of your medical records.
thank you, because I've never actually really thought that that was I think as like when you're a survivor of SRA or anything, you kind of compartmentalize your life. So that was kind of like, oh, that was an okay part of my life. I don't really, but when I did through a process of another process, ended up having to get these, I didn't realize how much it actually I needed to actually read it and it makes sense of so I'll go there. I'll start there. So when I was born, 14th of August, 1974, um, I'm just gonna have a little look. It's just so much info. It's just I'll see how many pages. It's just insane. Like, no, it doesn't say. But it's just like so detailed, like medically, like your bloods, everything. It's just amazing. Where I lived, like I said. Anyway, so when I was born, my mum, they used to do, they hang the baby upside down, which sounds horrific to me. That was a thing. Like, and slap them on the behind. Anyway, your face.
Oh
It's the
my gosh.
thing. They don't do that now. Don't worry. Um, so what happened, what I've been told, and I have like I do believe it's true, I was born in just like a normal public hospital in Victoria. For those who us Aussies, they'll know Victoria. That's where I grew up in Victoria, and I live now in Queensland, which is quite a fair way. Um, so what happened was, uh, which is literally a miracle, the doctor who did all my operations, made most of them, or probably all of them, he would just happen to be walking past and he could hear a gurgling sound. That's what I was told. And my mum had tried to feed me, but I started to obviously, my color was going blue or whatever. They called the priest in. That's what they did back then because they're like, oh, she's not going to live. And he said, well, she needs to go because they couldn't put a tube down my throat. So they needed to operate immediately. So basically, for layman's terms, is it was called esophageal atresia, is what I have. But what happened is my esophagus was attached to my lung. So if my mother had fed me, I would have drowned, basically. That's, yeah. So this doctor, basically, is an angel, I guess, just happened to be walking past after she'd given birth. So, and he's like, no, so that shipped me off. That sounds really bad. They drove me. Obviously went to the biggest hospital in Victoria. It's gosh, now my see, I did the blank thing. It's the Royal Children's Hospital. I'm looking at it, I think. Royal Children's Hospital, which is huge in Victoria, and it's in the city. And they took me there and they operated on me immediately. Sorry, I can't find the photo, but I do have a photo of me. And, in those little humidity cribs and all tubes hanging out and stuff like that. So my mum didn't like there's so much information as well around nurturing, like initially when you have a baby. Like I have 5 children now, but they put them straight onto your chest. Like it's so important. So I never had that with my mother. Like so even that, like there was a sever instantly. Like there was no, they didn't encourage breastfeeding or anything like that, so straight away that happened. I was in the hospital for the first 3 months of my life. And I have, like, I know you won't laugh at me because I've heard so many people talk about stories of remembering when they were little, like newborn. I used to think, oh, they're crazy. I always have this memory of like these nurses, and I thought I might have been older, but I remember asking someone in my family, and they're like, how could you remember that? I was like, well, I remember it clearly. So I must have been in the humidity crib, and I just remember these nurses with those funny, weird hats looking at me. And yeah, and like putting their hands through those things and doing whatever they had to do to check if I was okay, I suppose. So that was my first 3 months, and that would have been quite traumatic. I'll give grace to my mother because as I go along, a lot of yous won't probably. I'll give grace to her. That would have been quite hard, to have your child taken from you, in a strange country. She would have to come up to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. So then eventually I got out at 3 months old, but I had to keep going back in because what they have to do is, like, I've got major scars. I've got a huge one on my back. Down now it would be probably keyhole surgery because they, feeding tubes, all that kind of stuff. I wasn't allowed to eat any food, like proper food. So I would have to go in constantly to this hospital. We lived really far away in the country. And so if I picked up a pea, for example, which I did, I was a toddler, I'd choke on it. So my parents would have to drive me there. And this is all documented in my stuff. And I was like, wow, I thought I had made that up. No, it does say Lisa tried to swallow a pea and it got stuck. So then they had to, go in and do, I don't know, like a full-on operation, but they would have to stretch. Sounds gross. Sorry, guys. Stretch your esophagus.
Mhm.
Um, I still have problems today, but that's just if I'm being rushing to eat, and I shouldn't rush to eat. So, but that started off like feeling like very disconnected because I was in there so much, and I have such a vivid memory of being, which what would have been a cot essentially, and looking outside, and there was a young, probably we were toddlers, who her family were always there. Mine weren't. I just felt so alone. And so I would just get up and walk around the hospital, like and get in trouble by the nurses. But like I didn't think until probably a few years ago, till I did get my medical records, how traumatic that was. Because not having, like, when my mum or by a dad would come up, they wouldn't be able to stay for very long, obviously, because it was so far away. And they just weren't very emotional, or, you know, my doctor was, the surgeon was probably more caring
Oh,
than my family. So, yeah, so that was hard. But I do recall many times like going under anesthetic and having the major operations. So, yeah, that was up until the age of 3 to 4, I think, when the major operations like finished. And then when I turned 12, they do a like test your lungs and all of that kind of stuff. It's yeah. It's not common, but there are babies who are born with it, but they're usually born with that plus a hole in their heart. Thankfully, I didn't. So, but I was only, I think, like the second child in Australia to have the operation and survive. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
oh my
it was a
God.
long time. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So he, like, reading the notes and stuff was very emotional because the surgeon, he would write letters to my biological dad, because back then it was, the male was the person that you would talk to, not to the mother. Why haven't you come in for Lisa's appointment? This is urgent. Like, it's all there, like the neglect of not taking me when I should have been taken to specific appointments. And my growing up, my biological dad thought, like, made this like kind of fairy tale world for me, like that I was like his perfect the perfect daughter and all this. Basically, I'm allowed to swear on here, right?
Yeah.
Bullshit. um and how much he cared for me and all this kind of stuff, and reading through my notes, I'm like, no, you didn't. I knew you didn't. So yeah, so that was also confirming, because I already knew that. I was like, this, just the way he would speak about me was just for other people to make him look good. You're all pixelated on my end, but hopefully it's all good.
It's good on my end.
Keeps,
I can see everything. As long as you can hear me and it's connected, we're fine.
but tell me if you want me to, if you want me to go on to the next, because um, that was always like kind of like, oh yeah, Lisa's the sick, quiet child. So I guess that's where that came in. And because I was the eldest, so my sibling is 2.5 years younger than me. So nothing wrong with her. Came out, everything fine. There was a definite, like, because she's very loud and, well, not loud. She was probably just like normal. I was very like introverted and quiet and just didn't want to rock the boat. And I think that's how it started. It was like, not, I don't know if you would call that programming. It could be, but it did program, I guess, myself to just be like, just put up with it, deal with all the prodding and the poking and don't cry about it, don't carry on about it. You're so lucky that you're alive. That was the messaging, I guess. Like whether they said it or they didn't, it just was like, I'm so lucky I'm here, all that kind of stuff. So that would have set the tone for the next part of which was when I was 4. And shall we go there?
Yeah, just had one question. Did your biological father and mother live together? I know they didn't get married. Were they living in the same place during that period of your life? Yeah.
They were together for 7 years. So
Okay.
yes, they did live together. Yeah. They moved out. They lived with my nana, like in his home for a little bit, obviously probably while I was in hospital in the early days. And then when I obviously came out, that's when they moved in together. But he was very rarely there. His, jobs weren't on and off and stuff like that. And yeah, he even till like when I did cut contact with him, I think I was 30, around 30 years old.
Okay.
He was still the same. He'd just come on, take off, like off on these, not tell anyone. And we'd be like, okay, where's he gone? Very suspicious.
Which has got to be difficult too, because you're sort of being neglected and like abandoned in a lot of ways. Whether you're at the hospital or at home, you're not being cared for. At the hospital, the
Uh,
doctors are caring for you, but you don't have your parents coming in there to care for you. And then at home, when you're sick, you don't have a parent that's, taking care of you and taking you to all your appointments and tending to your needs and making sure that you're healthy. So that had to have been like very conflicting for you. And then on top of that, your biological father is gone all the time. And like you said, you didn't get that connection to your mother right at birth. So I can see how
no,
that would sort of make you be more of an internalized child because who do you have around you that you can really be close to? Everybody's sort of fleeting and there for one moment and gone, and you're being placed in all these different, places, whether you're at home or in the hospital. So I'm sure that that had to have been very traumatic in a lot of ways. And like you said, it desensitized you in a lot of ways to touch, to having people poke and prod at you and to sort of just sucking up things that were happening around you and chalking it up to, well, this is just how it has to be. I'm really lucky that I'm here. I don't have anything to complain about. I just need to just tolerate it all because it's what I have to do. And so
yep,
let's go into,
that.
being 4 years old and maybe too, what did your biological father and mother do, whether it was a career or, did your mom stay home? What was that like as far as what did they do?
So my mom, sorry, we'll go. I'll go back. But when I did get my medical records, um, even my biological dad's surname is Airy, Airey. So my mum was married, but they put my name as Lisa Byrne, so it's Byrne. That's important till later. Um, so that was weird because it flips and flops back and forth. And even my dad's actual name on my birth certificate in here was wrong. The address was wrong. Yeah, it kind of it freaked me out. So even I don't know why he would do that. It was just, yeah, it was weird. So my mum would have stayed, she did stay at home, but she also, because we lived with my nana, who was basically became, that's how I'll frame it. She became the one who I did attach to as a mother figure, and also my aunt, which was her daughter. She was only 13 when I was born. So they were my female. I believe that's why I didn't literally lose my mind. Because I did have so much love, like from my nana. she was my world. So, and I miss her dearly, but I know I'm going to get to see her one day. Um, so the irony is that her children were shit. But anyway, um, she was a great nan. So, um, I'll leave it at that. So my mum would work with her sometimes, like in like factories on and off. Um, Back then women weren't encouraged to have a driver's license. So I just remember being like catching buses and all that kind of stuff, like, going here, there, and everywhere. My dad worked odd jobs, but when I turned, it would have been around when I turned 4, that's when him and so just for you guys, I call him the saddest. He's my stepdad. I'll only say that once because he doesn't deserve that, even that title. But so him and my father, they met at I won't say the company on here because I've just still got ongoing legal stuff going on, but they worked for a trucking company, which is quite well known here in Australia. And so that's how my dad basically worked, I think, there for pretty much most of my childhood, on and off. And it was just basically just I don't know, like going picking up magazines and going to all that kind of stuff. Just that. Whereas my the saddest, he became my mum's husband, and I will describe that because that's interesting. Um, he had his own truck, and it was a very big truck. And so he had like, so I guess that was like, what do you call that? He was contracted. So that's how they both met. So the narrative that I was always told that they didn't like each other, but they were friends. So what happened was we lived in the suburb that I lived in Victoria was they both lived in the same suburb, and it was walking distance to both houses. So what I was told, even as a young girl, was that they swapped partners. Your face. Um,
Oh my gosh.
so this was very confusing because I would go to school, like, of course, kids talk and they, oh, where do you live? And da da da. So that's how I would just, but I will describe it properly. So there was my mom and my biological dad, my saddest and his wife, who'd been married for, I believe, at least maybe 10 years or if not more. And they lived, I could probably walk it in 10 minutes, their house. So that was convenient. So, um, so my mother and like they obviously got together, like had dinner together. I'm just, blah blah blah. I remember going to his place, status, and meeting his wife, and they had two boys, sort of similar ages. And then there was me and my sibling. So that kind of went on for a little bit, and there would be sleepovers, and that's when the abuse started with the saddest. Come into bedroom that it was in his house at the time, and he would come into the bedroom and start to do stuff. Like it was slow grooming, what I would call.
Okay.
But I was 4 years old.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
so but what it I don't know how long, maybe not even that long. All of a sudden I remember being sat down on a bed and told that mum and dad are going to break up and you're going to go and live with your dad, biological dad, and your sibling is going to come and live with here, my mum, in the status house. So they got together, and then my his wife went with my dad, my house.
Oh my gosh. Talk about a love
Yeah,
square. What in the world?
yeah. Lots of people freak out about that, but that was my normal. So, um, yeah, it was very embarrassing. I remember as a child to try and explain it, but I wasn't embarrassed so much as like, I didn't know like about sex or anything like that. I just was like, it's weird, right?
Yeah.
So, so yeah, so that was, and just splitting up the siblings as well that way, it was just very traumatic. Like even that, like just being taken away from my siblings because I was very protective of my sibling. And I think that's just the way I was born. I don't know. Just very like mama bearish. And yeah, so that happened. And then this is a story, and I do remember some of it. The story I was told was that I got sick, measles or something like that, and, which is normal. I wanted to be with my mother. And so I went to her place and I just said to her, I'm not going back there, which unfortunately for me was probably the wrong decision, but I was only a little kid and I wanted to be with her. So there was no, because they weren't married or anything, there was no like going to court or anything like that. They just did verbal agreement. So it was every second weekend, I would go to my dad, my biological dad's house, and um, my stepmom then became my stepmom. Her would come to my house, which now we're living with the saddest in his house. So my mum was only 26, which I'm still giving her grace. I know if my husband watches it, I'll show a photo of me. This is just before. I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
I'll make the screen bigger. 1 second on your end. Oh, oh my gosh, how precious.
Yeah, I still have the same haircut. There's a reason for that. But anyway, I digress. Um, so yeah, so that was pretty full on, like moving into and going, okay, so now I'm living in this house. And yeah, it was just bless you. Um, they it was then became like we're not friends. We hate each other. That was the narrative that we were kind of told, me and my sibling, and the other ones as well. Yeah, so me and my sibling, it was like quite a big house, like considering where we lived, because it was not lower class, but you know, we weren't living it up basically. But my mum and he was. There was lots of money flowing in, and it never came to us like we like off to the side like wore daggy clothes and stuff like that. Where it just everything changed so quickly, like even just not just the sexual stuff, but we'd have to ask if we could open the refrigerator to get a drink. We had to ask if we were allowed to have food, like a snack or something like that. Yeah. So I guess looking back, that was a part of grooming as well. And I was the complicit client, I don't know, child, the quiet child. And my sister, oh, I nearly said it, my sibling was not. She was, oh, well, too bad now. She was more feisty, a normal toddler, like, normal, and just wouldn't put up with his crap. And I'd be like, try and make everything all at the age of 4.5, 5. Um, just became an adult. I felt like an adult very quickly in a little body. And yeah, going to school, I still went to the same primary school, but everything I just felt so different, completely different. I felt like everyone could see that there was something wrong with me.
So devastating. It's so sad to think that like you can't even go home and be safe, like you don't have somebody safe that can protect you.
No, no, she always knew. Well, unfortunately, I know that's true for a lot of,
Yeah.
but she was drugged, and there was, all her, you used to see, um, follow Emma. No, that's the common thread. Like we were drugged. My mother was drugged. I was made to watch her be abused. I'll just say abused, but you can imagine it was horrific. Um, and I don't know, like I say that she knows, but you know whether she did have DID as well, I don't know. That's still no excuse. You know, she she is still with him today. They're still married. So and they're so that's a thing. Yeah. So basically, I'll probably go from when I woke up, and then I'll fix that. Will probably be easier.
Perfect. Okay.
So I always knew that something was wrong. That's like that feeling that something was not right. I never liked him the saddest. Um, my biological dad, when I would go to stay at his house on every other weekend, which was so bizarre because we could live in a place. It was like living in a different world. So we went from like being in one world where you like couldn't sit on your bed, couldn't like play with your toys. They had to put them away straight away. Um, everything had to. It looked like there wasn't children that lived in our home. When I went to my biological dad's house, it was like the party house. People would come and go, drunk. It was just, to my senses, it was overwhelming. Um, and he was very, he is very, he's a narcissist, very aggressive, and not he sit me down for 2 hours at least. When we would get to his house and drill drill me basically and ask me what my mum had said about him, all that kind of stuff. If anyone had touched me, which was so ironic, he had abused me as well, but I had that yet. Anyway, so that was abusive as well, and it was only done to me. It wasn't done to anyone else. No other child, just me. So I would just go mute. So I chose to. I didn't speak like at home when I was in like homes. At school, I spoke a little bit, but they would always say, "She's so quiet. She falls asleep." I wish I had my reports, but yeah. Or they would take me out of class, and I don't know. I don't if it was a gift. I don't know, but I was taken out of class a lot and had to do things. But it just made me feel like I thought I was stupid. That's all. I thought I couldn't attain anything, but it was just because I was so tired. So when I met my husband, I know I'm sort of chopping, but that was that, just giving you a bite piece of that. So then when I met my husband, I was 18. So I met, I decided the night that I went out, I went off the rails a little bit for some some time as a teen, as you do. Um, And then I decided the night I actually met him was I was like, that's it. I don't want to have a boyfriend. I'm done. That's it. I just want to be by myself. So my girlfriend and I decided to go out to a nightclub on a Wednesday evening, and he was there. And so I think because I'd had other, boyfriends or whatever, and my parents were like, "Oh yeah, we like them." They were horrible, but when they met him, my husband, my beautiful, he's my best friend. They hated him. They did not like him. So that was a red flag for me to go, what the hell? Why would you not like him? He's like so kind to me. He's completely like total opposite. And we just became inseparable. So, um, yeah, he's like my best friend. I'd never met someone who, yeah, just treated me like I thought there was something wrong with him because he was just like so kind. I was like, I'm not used to this. Um, yeah, so that we got engaged when I was 20. It was like everyone's like, oh my gosh, you were so young. But for me, it was not because I felt like I'd already lived such this like big life and done so much. And I was a full-time, I was hairdressing. I'd done, I think it was 4 years, your apprentice. So I was doing becoming a hairdresser, doing all the things that I loved. It was either that or be a journalist. So I decided to err on I always wanted to do hairdressing. So I was like, okay, I'll just do that. So that saved my life actually in the early days. So when I went down to Victoria. I had my son. Sorry, I'm going a little bit all over the place, but I had my first child when I was 23, I believe. I was 22, turned 23. He's now almost 28. That's crazy. But anyway, um, I that's when it started to happen. Um, what I would call starting to recall body memories. Didn't I thought I was going crazy. I thought, what is wrong with me? So I started we had my husband and I didn't go to church or anything like that, but we had this little it was like a little red Gideon Bible. I don't know. And so I would sit when he was at work and I'd flick at the back, you could flick up all these different afflictions. And I'd look up depression. I still remember, oh, am I depressed? And so then I'd, sit there and pray and like, because I always had a belief in God. That's the thing I'm not ashamed to talk about that because not every survivor does. And I understand that. I'm very don't even want to say give grace because that sounds condescending. I'm just like, I get it because um that was used against a lot of us, you know. So, but this is my story, so I get to say my story. Um, so this it's how it happened for me. And I didn't have we never went to church when I was little, nothing like that. So it was definitely just there. It just felt like I was a very curious kid. I'd lay at night going, what the hell is this place? And why am I here? Like even at a really young age. So um why did I get onto so Shane and I like my husband and I had that together. So that was a good connection for us because I didn't have that with anyone else and I didn't made me feel more safe, I guess. But when I was pregnant, I was like getting more depressed, more depressed. And I ring my mom and she just wasn't there for me. So I started to pull away from that whole like it was quite a big circle of family. And I didn't know why. And I didn't have the answers, but I'd always had one memory all my childhood. Well, I think I was around 10, 11. And I went to my mom and I said to her, because this came up while I was pregnant. I was like, wonder if that's what it is. And I said to my mum, someone has come into my bedroom because her and her sister were talking about really weird, wacky stuff. And I thought, I'm going to come into this conversation because it feels safe. She's like talking to her sister saying, oh, remember when, we'd be up on the ceiling and we could see ourselves and we were doing this and doing that. I'm like, yeah, she's just like it was a normal thing. I was like, okay. So I said to her, I said, I remember someone coming into my room and they both just said, oh no, you're dreaming, like straight off the bat. And it just shut me down because I was like so excited because it felt like they were sharing something sort of like a similar, it felt familiar like to what I had experienced. And they just both went, no, you're dreaming. And so that shut me down. So fast forward to pregnant, 24, oh no, sorry, 20, whatever, 23, I give birth. My doctor, even while I was pregnant, she said to me, I'm quite worried about you. Think you might go into postnatal depression, which I don't believe in postnatal depression, but that's my personal view. It was just the trauma that just come out. And so when I went into labor with my son, it was it was bizarre because it felt like something I'd done before. That's what I will say there. I was like, this feels like familiar. And I had a very quick birth, like considering it was my first birth. He was born within 3 hours, which is considered very fast for your first child. I refused all medications. I think my midwife thought I was just being heroic. I wasn't. I just didn't want to be out of control. I wanted to be awake. Um, and yeah, so when he was born, I've got photos of myself, and I like that's why I often do this because I get a red rash. Um, it's just from the like when you talk about this kind of stuff, I don't know, but I'm fine. But back then, it would just be like I just any kind of like when I'd start to feel um what do you call it? Not even insecure, like I was being threatened, even though there was no actual threat. I would just have this rash, bright red rash. So when he was born, like he was like a lot of people didn't even realize I was pregnant because I was so tiny. He was fine. He was healthy and everything. But I think that was a way, and I'll get to that because we probably will have to do a part two. But I did, I think my body just did that naturally because it had done it before, basically. It was like he was hidden, like I'd hidden him psychologically, your body, because we know our body remembers, right? So it was like I wanted to have this huge big belly and it just didn't happen. And but when they gave him to me, I could not sleep. I refused to sleep. I like I thought it was normal at the time. I just would scan his face to make sure like that's my child. No one's like can take him, and the nurses are like, we're not taking him from you. Like we're just giving you a break. And I'm like, I don't need a break. I'm good. Just leave him there. So I was super, super protective of him straight up. And I stayed home the first 6 months. Back then, I don't think we had maternity, I can't remember, but I had to go back to work. And so I think that's what triggered it because I had to put him in the hands of my in-laws, which I loved. But yeah, it started a it started the slow the slow burn of waking up. That's what I'll call it. Because there were little things my mum started to call me and she says, "Oh, can I come and see the baby?" Like I'm like, "No." And like I would say these things. I'm like, why am I saying no? Like that's like a normal thing that you'd want your parent to see your baby. And she said, "Oh, your sadist, he would love to see him." And I'm like, "No, that's not happening." So, not happening at all. That's not going to happen. So, like, quickly, just so, like, when Shane and I did get married, she begged and begged. It was always messy with him anyway. Even as I got older, I just wouldn't talk to him. We lived in a really small house, and I would just completely pretend that he wasn't there. Like, he'd walk past me, and I just so my mum, it was a big tension because she would be like, "Why don't you talk to him?" I'm like, "Because I don't like him." It's like, "But he loves you." I'm like, "No, I don't want to talk to him."
And you didn't
So,
even know why. You didn't even have all those memories yet. You just had your body keeps a score, like you said. You just knew internally.
and he'd always sexualize me. He, like, not even just me. If I, sometimes I would bring my girlfriends home, very rarely. He would say, he would pull me in like our kids, like it's normal, like when they from when they're little, that say goodnight to mum and dad, like give them a kiss. We would never push it. If they wanted to, they could. If they didn't have to. That was from day one. But with him, even up until I was like, oh, 16, which I was obviously, a young woman, um, he would pull me in and kiss me on the mouth in front of my mother. And I'd be like trying to push him away. And she's like, "Ah, ha, ha." She'd laugh it off. I'm like, "Do not do that to me." Like I would start to now, that was when I started to get feisty. I'm like, "Do not do that to me." And she'd tell me off. And she said, "Oh, that's just the way he is." And I'm like, "No." And he would make comments about my body or about my hair. "You look better with being a blonde," or, just weird things that aren't not normal. Yeah, your face says it all.
Yeah, it's like stuff that you'd like, that like an abuser would tell his wife, not like something that you'd say to a young girl or a child.
No, and he'd say it to even my girlfriends. They come and he'd be like, "Oh, you've got great boobs," or something like that.
Oh
And
God.
then and they would never come back to my house. No, or
So embarrassing.
I would not allow them to.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he was very outwardly like that, and he would do it so it wasn't just me, to everyone. So it would make, "Oh, that's just the way he is. That's just the way he talks." And yeah, it was awful. Like, because even my mum, I still remember, like he'd come up to her and she would always flinch. She would flinch. So whether that was because of him or because of her trauma, I don't know, but she would flinch from him. So I'm like, "You're doing it to your own husband. Like, I'm your daughter. He's doing this. Say something or stop it." Anyway, so we'll get back. So, um, my husband and I move into his parents' house to save for a house, and I'm doing my hairdressing. I'm back doing that. I've got my beautiful little 18-month-old toddler running around, and just so amazing because I love being a mum. It's all I ever wanted to be. I just wanted to be a mum. And no, I'm not like one of those people who are like, "I'm just a stay-at-home mum and I don't have any philosophy. That's just all I ever wanted since I was a little girl." So no one put it onto me. That was just me. And I wanted at least 4 children. That's what I wanted. I got 5. So um yeah, so that was awesome. It was so good, but I was struggling. I was losing weight and I didn't know why. I wasn't sick. Um, I always had been thin as a like just normal, but after having him, I was like, oh, maybe that's just, I didn't have any frame of reference because I didn't have a relationship with my mother or anything like that. So I went to Victoria to go to see my nana and just spend some time down there because I was starting to realize that my family is extremely dysfunctional, my birth family. And I was starting to read books and like whatever I could get my hands on, just like dysfunctional stuff, not sexual abuse or anything like that. Um, and then I was staying in like they lived in a caravan park, but it was nice. It wasn't, and I had my own space, and I just remember I just started having flashes of stuff, and my nana had said something to me like she had said to me, "Oh, would you like to see your stepmom? She misses you. She hasn't seen you for years." And I never sworn in my to anyone at that point. And I said the F word in front of my nana, and I said F no or something to that effect. And she was like, "What?" Yeah. And I didn't know why. I was like, no, I don't want to. So basically, so I'm down in Victoria staying with my nan. She wants me to see my stepmom. I say the naughty word, F no. And I have my son with me. I took him down with me, so he was only 18 months old, just so I could, show him off. And then it just was like, ugh, it didn't go like it was good, but it just was like even seeing my biological dad, he was now married to someone else. So trying to think, he wasn't married to my mum, but so it was like on his third, if you want to say third marriage. So he basically never raised us. He never raised, but he always would raise other people's children. That's the way I would put it that way. It was so bizarre. So anyway, cut back to so I saw him for a little bit, but it just felt weird. And get on the plane, which it's only like a 3 hour flight or whatever. Get home, and I just remember waking up literally. I know it sounds bizarre, but waking up in the morning, which I would normally do, go see my son, give him, something, a bottle or whatever. And but I woke up and I didn't know where I was. And I wasn't on any medication, nothing. Like I was nothing. And it wasn't jet lag because it was only a short flight. And so all I can recall is saying to my husband, "Where am I? Where am I?" And then I started what it feels like. It's like I was sitting here in the back of my head, and this little girl's voice was talking. And I was like, what the, like, even in my head, I'm like, what the hell is going on? And so he's like, you're here, you're here with us. So I had like snippets of where I could hear him, and then snippets of when I was like, I wasn't in the same house. I was in my house that I grew up and I started screaming, and I was like, I know who it is. I know who it is. Because I got the full memory of, because I didn't go into that, but the memory that I had, that I'd always had, was of a man coming into my room, a dark figure, couldn't see his face, but the bedroom that I was in, we always had a light on in the background. So, and we had two little chihuahuas, which were my puppies, and they would always bark if there was someone that was, as you know, when you have a dog, um, and they never barked. So that's why I knew it was a real memory, and I knew that it was someone that was within my, someone they knew. And he'd come in and it was very visceral memory of what he did to me. Um, and it was painful. I remember moving around on my bed, thinking that if I move around, he might leave, and he didn't leave. So I'd always had that. But I could not see the face. And I had shared that with my husband when we first met. I know it's weird, but it's good now because it might help my legal stuff that is going on in the background. But anyway, um, so I said to him, I said, it's him. It's the saddest. Not that I was surprised, but I could see the full memory and I was reliving it physically. And so I was that age, and my poor in-laws did not know what was going on because I couldn't stop screaming. I like just couldn't, I just kept screaming and screaming. And like I knew in the back of so it was like adult me sitting in the back of my head, like watching this video play out. And I'm going, Lisa, you need to stop screaming. But I couldn't stop. You've gone, the screen keeps changing. Anyway, yeah, I could not stop. And then I kept saying all this stuff. And so Shane, I've always been a journaler. So Shane just got my a book out, one of my journals, and he said, "Do you want to just?" He put a pen in my hand, and I just started writing. But the way I wrote,
That is so intuitive because that's like what so many therapists now and survivors say to do. And that's amazing that he just like intuitively did that and had you do that.
I can't find my pen, but I've got something. So the way instead of we write like this. I'm a lefty too. I'm a lefty. I wrote like this. So it was like childlike. I threw that journal out because it was quite horrific. I wish I had it now, but it was just horrific. And it had a name. So this little girl had a certain name. I I've kind of like I don't know if there's other survivors. I think there are, but I've remembered and then I've blocked it back out some stuff again. So some of it, like, especially when it came to all of that, like, because it was such like a flood, it was like a flood of so much stuff. I just, writing it all down and then reading it back was just so intense. So, I was writing down dates, streets, um, places, like suburbs, what we call suburbs here. I don't know what you call it. And I would, and in my while I'm saying all this and writing it down, I'm going, how would I be able to get to there? Because that's like 45 minutes from where I live. Like, why would I, I'm trying to make it make sense, right? Like it doesn't make sense. And so this particular day when it happened, I called for my sibling to come and sit with me. I said, because that's right, because I was saying to Shane, I said, they've taken my sibling, they've taken it, like I kept saying it, and he's like, no, no, no. She's safe, she's safe, she's safe. And so she didn't live far away. So he brought her over and she sat with me. I didn't know who she was because she didn't look like when we were little. And so she's trying to calm me down, but it just irritated me more. And yeah, so I'd go in and out of that. It was like going in and out of consciousness, I guess. But I knew I was like present, but it was like a fight going on. And I was, yeah, so it didn't stop. And then I went into this, like, I think I got up to go, though trying to give me water because I was saturated, like in just, like, my whole body was like, I was just sweating and it was, yeah. And then I would feel nauseous. And then, like, said, how about I take you to, how about you have a shower? I said, no, 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 I can't have a shower because I'm too little. And so he would had to take me to have a shower. Couldn't go to the toilet by myself because I was too scared to go to the toilet by myself. I'm a grown ass woman. It was so like you can't make it up. Like it because it was happening. Like and he he didn't sign. I always say this. He didn't sign up for that. I didn't sign up for that. But he just was like, I don't know, just God just knew that we would work, I guess, and he just went with it. But it would have been horrific. So all I was worried about when I was kind of like me again, adult me, was like, take my son away, take him away. I don't want him in the house. Not, I wasn't going to hurt him or anything. I just didn't want him to see me like that, be afraid because he was so little. And so my in-laws took him out and it just wouldn't stop. Emma, it just kept going. It was at least 8 hours. And my in-laws had this massive mirror in their lounge room. I remember walking past it and I saw myself and I screamed. And my husband's like, what's wrong now? Like, I said, that's not me. That's not me. Because it was, I don't know, maybe I think I was maybe aged 4 or 5, I guess. Just kept changing all different ages that I was remembering. And so I'm saying all this stuff to him, and he's just like, then he brought my, because my biological dad just happened to be up living where we were at the time, brought him over to the house, thinking that that would help, because I still hadn't remembered stuff about him. And he came into the room and he looked at me in my eyes and he said, do you think it's me? And I was like, no, 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 it's not you, it's not you. And then I just got worse, just got worse and worse. And then he had to go. I said he has to leave. I didn't even know what I was doing. So eventually, I had my best friend that I grew up with. She didn't live. Had moved, but her mum was still living the same area, and she was like a mother to me. And I said to my husband, you need to call her. We need to go. I need to get help. So he called her. She came straight over and they took me to a psychiatric hospital because they didn't know what else to do with me. Well, we went to hospital, just like normal hospital, because I couldn't stop. Like I was fidgeting. Yeah, well, it was just horrific. It was, and just like I was trying to run away, which because I was in that, thinking I was little, and so I wasn't safe essentially. So they took me to the hospital where I had given birth to my son, and they took me behind because I was screaming and screaming. I would have looked like a crazy person for sure. Screaming and screaming and crying like a little girl. And the nurse, I remember her vaguely. She went to give me what I know is Valium, like tablet form. And I was really underweight then. And I was very I am very what do you call it? Sensitive to medication. So, but it didn't do anything. I was like still wide awake, still like get me out of here, screaming. And this poor nurse, I just remember looking at her. She's like looking at me thinking, what the hell? Probably you have to laugh, because it's not funny, but it was like, and my husband's there, and so is my best friend's mum. She's beautiful. She's holding my hand, doing all the motherly stuff that I'd never had really. And then the nurse was like, okay, I'm gonna have to give her like a full-on like sedative. So I just remember her pulling out a needle, and that was obviously a trigger for me. I didn't know that then. And she went to put it into my leg, and I nearly kicked her in the head. And I just like everything that I was doing was not that was not me normally. So, and all I can remember is Shane going, "No, you need to sit still. You need to sit still." I'm like, "No." I was like screaming. It was like we're in the emergency or something. I'm thinking, oh, these poor people. Like I look back now, they would be like, what was going on? So she did eventually get it in. And all I remember, it's like in the movies, they put you in a wheelchair down to the psychiatric ward for all the crazy people. Um, so they put me into what you call lockup. How ironic. Um, I was in like the highest whatever. I see I couldn't get out basically. Um anyway, so it happened on the date that it happened was 1999 March the 10th, which the date was significant because it was one of my step siblings' birthdays. So that was kind of a significant date as well. Um so sorry, I'm just thinking. I've told this story so many times, I should know it, but inside, back, the front. So when I got there, they take everything off you. This is like, I'll say this, like it was obviously saved me in some, in a way, but it was so degrading as well. And I know this is for like this is not new to anyone who's listening and who's been through this. They took my razor blades, they took, all of that kind of stuff. And at that point, I wasn't self-harming or doing anything like that. I was literally just reliving my childhood. And so they straight away put you on medication. You line up. It is like in the movies. All these people line up and you've got these little cups and it was just like I remember thinking, am I really like, is this happening? Like, how did I get here? Um, and apparently I made lots of very crazy phone calls to people that I don't remember, like begging them to get me out of there. Um, yeah. Um, so they were not unkind to me, but it was just it was like it was another world. And I instinctively knew, even back then, like you asked, there was nothing really around then. Um, these people are traumatized. They're not like schizophrenic or like they got trauma. I didn't have the actual words, but I knew it was something like that. And like there was some guy who thought he was Elvis. It was just such a trip. Like when I write my book one day, it's just going to be so it was just these beautiful human beings. That's what it was. It felt like I just wanted to save them all. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in here to be looked after. But I just had like people who would, I don't know, I think if you are empathetic, like you just naturally draw people to yourself, or it's like written on your head, like, come and tell me all your problems. So I was in there and they're like, come and tell me all this stuff. And I'm like, uh-huh. And I'm thinking, crap, I'm not that bad. I need to get out of here. So, um, and yeah, I just felt bad for my husband. Like, he had to be like, he had to take time. It affects every part of your world. And so instead of becoming sad, I got angry. I was so angry and pissed because now I knew who he was, who this person was. I wanted him bad to pay for everything he had done to me and was currently doing to my life. So um, they had given me the amazing psychotherapist, which I'd had counseling and all that kind of stuff when I was younger, but I didn't know why. Just like, oh, I'm just a messed up, teenager or whatever. But unbeknownst to me, he was the head of Queensland and he was way before his time. He was actually a practicing monk as well. He was amazing. I hope watches this. He's 80, I think he's 83 now. He he knew straight away what was up. Yeah. He said, I'll give you a pad and a pen and I need you to go and you just sit and you just write. And he said, and then you bring it back to me. I'll read it and let's just chat. He was like, like Zen, we talk about Zen. He like the atmosphere I'd go in and like it was so chaotic everywhere else. But when I'd come in and sit with him, I just felt like I can breathe. He doesn't think I'm crazy. And I didn't know that I had like this, like because that was public health, like I couldn't afford anything else. Anyway, we're lucky over here. We don't have to pay, so I didn't have to pay. So he basically just sat with me and let me talk, just like what I would call vomit talk, and try to make sense of what was going on. And I got given a social worker. She was a beautiful lady. She just to come and check on me. Sorry, my back's. I'm getting old, Emma. Um, she just come and check on me. So I met her. She was lovely. And so they'd given me like a little mini team. They look after you. But I will share this part. While I was in there, I met a woman she'd had 8 children. She told me she had 8 children. I don't know if she did, but we became friends very quickly. And she said, "Oh, is it okay if I come and we have a chat like after dinner?" I was like, "Sure," because all the like cutlery was all plastic. Everything was, all safe. And I had my own bathroom. Don't know how that worked in public health, but I did. And I think I had my own room. It's a long time ago, but so I let her come in and then she said, "Can I use your bathroom?" I said, "Sure, of course you can." And then I hear this smash and she'd smashed the mirror and I'd gone in and yeah, I'm in there to be helped. Um, and she had harmed herself and it was everywhere, like blood everywhere. And I was like screaming because I was like, I don't know. I think you have like a curfew. Say it was 10 o'clock. It was after curfew. So I was screaming, someone come and help. No one came. So then there was a button. It sounds like a full on movie. I press the button. All these people come running. This lady, I was like, what the heck? It's like, and these nurses are like, what did you do? I said, I didn't do anything. She locked herself in the toilet and did that. I'm out of here. Get me out of this place. I'm out of here. So that was really, really sad. And I think I was only in there for 3 days, but it felt like forever. So I just wanted to be home, begged my bosses not to get rid of me because I needed to work to be sane. But yeah, so then I was back home trying to be normal, but just the memories just
Oh my God.
kept coming and coming. And so what I did was we'll talk about confrontation because I love confrontation and I don't love confrontation. But because I now knew who this person was, I think that it was like I have said before, it's a righteous anger. It's not like it wasn't even revenge. It was just I just was like I just want him to say sorry or something, you know? I think that's very normal considering and admit that what he did was horrific and wrong. And so my mum, I'd had cut contact to like say maybe phone calls, like the odd phone call. So she didn't really know what was going on. And she did know I was in the had been in the psychiatric ward because I'd called her. I vaguely remember calling her and like saying a lot of bad words. Um, and so her answer to that was, you just need to be medicated. And yeah. So I I don't know, one night I can be my kids think I'm a little bit, what do you call it? When I just do something, I just do it. Like I don't it can be just like, okay, right, we're going to do today, like all of a sudden kind of thing. And they're like, oh, what's going on? I've always been like that. So once I make my mind up, I'm just like, you can't unmake it. It's like, that's it. I'm stuck. So, um, we're at Shane's parents' place. We'd had dinner. Everything was kind of normal. And then all of a sudden, more memories. I'm like, that's it. I am sick of this. Like, I'm done. And he, my father-in-law would put sticks like in the windows. So, because where we lived, there was break-ins. So I grabbed the stick and then I just became really calm. And Shane's like, what's going on? I said, oh, I'm just going to go to my mum's. And he's like, no, you're not. I said, yeah, I'm going to my mum's house now. And I had the stick. It's like, Lisa, you are not going to your mum's. She only lived about 10, 15 minutes away. And they lived in what you would call a village, a old people's village. So it had a gate and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, um, it was only her and him living there. They're still in the same state as me, so that was good. Um, not good for them. Not in the state that I was in. Um, so I didn't tell anyone else. I just said to him, I said, you need to let me go. Otherwise, I'm just going to go anyway. I'm just going to get a taxi. Back then, we get taxis. Now we get Ubers. Otherwise, I'm just going to go. And he's like, no, you can't go by yourself. And I was like, yes, I can. Like this is the way I would talk, very robotic, but I was calm. So he knew because when I would go calm, that's when it was like, oh, this isn't good. Like she's gonna go off. But so what happened was, I guess that was probably even like if we want to go back, that was part of me, like being programmed to be quiet and to be silent and very aware of my surroundings. I would become like everything would be so crystal clear, like almost like highlighted. So everything felt so, and like even I could feel everything, like even the atmosphere was very like electric kind of. It's hard to describe. So I said to him, you need to take me there or else I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go. So he's like, okay, we're going. And I said, because my biological dad he was here on the coast. And at that time, I didn't know that they were still in contact-ish because I was told that they hated each other all my childhood. So my biological dad, we picked him up on the way. This is so ironic. Picked him up on the way. And I had told him this is what he did to me in not like very graphic terms, what the sadist did to me. And he pretended to be sad about it now that I look back. Um, so there's myself, my husband, myself, and my biological dad, who was a, like drunk, but was like, okay, because I told him, you're coming, get in the car, you're coming with us. We're going to confront him. He's like, oh, okay. And so we get to the place and they wouldn't have hurt us because you had to park your car and then walk up because there was a gate, blah, blah, blah. So we're walking up and Shane kept saying every now and then, he's like, you sure you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, I'm so ready. Bring it on. Because what had happened was when you're recalling these memories, like, and I'm thinking, this is insane. This, how did he get away with this? And what, all the whys, like, am I crazy? Is it really him? I knew it was him. I just needed I needed to see his face, like in real time, like then. So, and I said that to Shane. I said, I just need to see his face. Like, even if he doesn't say anything, I'll know that I know it's real, that I'm not going nuts. So that was basically really the reason. And I also did want to hurt him. I'm not, I don't feel bad about that. Um, so, Shane did take the stick off me, just so everybody knows. There were no weapons involved.
Bless him.
I was the weapon.
Yes.
This teeny tiny little thing that it was so bizarre. Like, I'd get this enormous strength from I don't know where, because I was like, I don't know what I was like 48 kilos, which is under 8 pounds. I don't know, whatever. I was tiny for me. And I was like, walking up, like, yep, I'm going to kick his ass. Um, so they had I'm sorry, I probably take too long in sharing this, but it just brings me great pleasure. So I knock on the door because it would have been, say it was like 9 o'clock at night, right? No one's expecting anyone, especially in this little old people's village. Like, they weren't old, but they just lived there. It's like, I don't know, was it a cover? I don't know. I'm not, I don't know why. And she had chihuahuas, and I was so angry. That was the first thing that made me angry because she got rid of my dogs when we had to move up. I'll tell that part later. Um, Move up to where I am living now, Queensland. They got rid of them, and I was devastated because they were, yeah, my everything. Anyway, so I was straight away when I heard this little dog yapping, I'm like, oh, like, I was like, just saw red. She opened the curtain, my mother, and I don't think I had an angry face because she smiled at me. And I was like, I don't know, because I used to always like apologize for everything, like even fights that I just would apologize. So I thought in her head, she must have thought I was coming back to apologize, whatever, like keeping my child away from her. I don't know what she thought. So she had a smile, and I'm like, oh, this is good. So she'll open the door. So I'm knocking on the door. She opens the door, and he wasn't there. He must have been, I think he was upstairs. It was only a couple of stairs because it was a tiny house. And I'd never sworn at my mother ever. It just came out of my mouth. And I said, where? You can bleep it out if you have to.
Nope.
I said, where's your fucking husband? And it was like I just looked straight through her. It was like she was just a means to the end. Like, it was like I had no connection whatsoever. I didn't have any feelings towards her. And she just looked at me and her eyes went black. And often that would happen when we were little. My mum would be very verbally aggressive and just mean, really mean. And me and my sibling would often say that. Remember when mum's eyes would go black? Be like, yeah. Then we'd be like, oh shit. So that happened at that moment when I said that. And I was trying to get into the house. I didn't have a plan, but I was trying to rip open the door and my like after the thought when like I'm very much like when I do like I'll do it today, like I sit and I process and I think, wow, wasn't that interesting what that happened and didn't happen or whatever. But when you're in the moment, you're not thinking. So what was weird was that my dad, my biological dad, didn't say a word. So that was interesting. This is before I remembered anything about him. But you would think that he would be really pissed off, right? That his daughter had been raped by this man consistently, but from the ages of 4 to around 14. No, he didn't show it. He just let me. I was forefront. My husband was pulling me back, trying to pull me back, and I was getting mad at him because I'm like, no, don't pull me back. Let me go. So I yelled out, that's all I said, Emma. I just said, where's your fucking husband? And then I heard him come downstairs and he said, I never touched her. Those were his first words. And then something just clicked in me. He was standing in front of me. We were like this close. And he knew that I knew. And I was like, that's it. I got goosebumps. Um, he knew he's like, and the fear, I saw fear in his eyes. I had no fear of him. It just like boom, gone. And so I actually did kick him in the, you know what?
Oh,
I
girl.
gra-
Oh my
I
God. Love you.
grabbed I grabbed him. Like this is all my mother's trying to shut the door and like, I'm gonna call the police. I'm like gonna call the I'm like, good, call the fucking police. Call them now. I want them to come now. So I've grabbed him and he's like big, well tall, like bigger than me. And I don't know where the strength came from. I was just like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. Like, but I got one in and I was trying to get into the house because I had sort of an idea. I wanted to break something of his because he would never let us turn the TV on, touch anything of his. It was all his. Weren't allowed to sit on the lounges, weren't allowed to, like, we had to sit on the floor. Like, we were not even like, I won't say animals because my animals are allowed to sit wherever the hell they want in my house. They can sleep in my bed. I don't care. But he treated us like, yeah, less than humans. And so that's why I was trying to get into the house to try and like break something precious of his. But at least I got him in the, you know what. So that felt good. And then, yeah, she just started screaming and like, you're crazy. You need to go on medication. And there's something wrong with you. And I said, so I kind of went not silent. I just went into that zone. I said, your husband did this to me. And I said it explicitly, exactly what he did to me. And she just, nothing. And just kept saying, I'm going to call the police. And I said, yep, call the police. And my grandparents, her mum and dad lived straight across the road. They surely would have heard the commotion. No one came out. And so they ended up getting the doors closed. They closed the doors up and they ran upstairs like scared little, you know what?
Weird.
What do you call them?
Cowards.
Cowards, thank you. Scared little cowards. And we waited for half an hour for the police to come. They didn't come. So that was my answer. So that's my finale for that part of my story because it felt so good, but so, oh my God, what is next?
I think you probably just had this like huge adrenaline rush, but that moment is so powerful when it's like you go from being a victim to a survivor to a warrior. Like when there's that exchange of power of like, I'm taking my power back, you get to take the shame now. Like it is yours. I am not carrying it another second. You are taking my shame is going back to you where it belongs. Like that exchange of power of like seeing this weak man who took advantage of a little child cower
Yeah,
before the adult that child grew into. Like I got chills. My hair was standing up like listening to you because I can just picture that. Like you all of a sudden just becoming this like courageous warrior and him cowering, knowing that he can't do anything anymore. You're not what he thinks is like a weak child anymore. You are a grown woman. You are a courageous young woman, and you now are, like you said, you're the weapon now. You know, you're the one that you took your power back. Like, you go, girl. I love that. I love that you did that. And that had to have been so validating too, just like getting your medical records, like seeing them not react compassionately to you, seeing your mom just have a blank face, not stand up for you, seeing your biological father do the same, just stand behind you, and then see, you know, the first words that the sadist comes down and says is, I never touched you. Like, okay, like
I
nobody even like who why would you say that if it didn't happen? Like, yes, you did. You know you did, you know?
was so I couldn't have scripted it better. Like it was so I remember us walking to the car and I still can remember. I just felt like yeah, it was probably adrenaline, but I just felt like sucked in, sucked in. Like that teenage girl, little girl, all the different ages was like, yes, we did it. We're
Oh,
not we're not like he told me that you're so quiet. No, that's not actually really who I am. I actually have a voice and I am not a quiet person. Like that was everyone in my family say, "Oh, she's so quiet." I'm like, "No, I'm not." Like just yeah. So like what you said, it just felt so everything it was just so validating and I know it sounds so cliche, but empowering as well. Um, and to see him afraid of me was just the best. And that's why, like, I know we're probably doing our part two.
yeah.
I had like go on to meet other survivors and that when I go through my healing journey, so many of them, and I understand it because that some people are still, sorry, are in danger. And, but I, for whatever reason, well, it's not for whatever reason, it's because I have confronted him. I don't feel afraid of him. I know that he's afraid of me. I plastered his face all over Facebook, Instagram. I put his phone number up. I put his address up because I was just,
Go
I,
girl.
I was done. Like this was probably about maybe 4 years ago, maybe. I was done. And like, I was like, I don't care. Like, why should I have to tick all the boxes? I'm done ticking the boxes. I've done all that. I'm not doing it anymore. And so that's why I'm not afraid. But I'm not saying that to everybody. That's my story and that's my journey. Like, if you need to be safe and you be safe, like you keep safe. Don't, don't necessarily do what I did, but I knew that that was for me, that I could do that. Um, and yeah, and I have been safe. Nothing has happened to me. I've had lots of attacks, spiritual attacks. Yes, that happens. And that's a whole nother probably episode of learning how to deal in that area. And the same, you learn on the job. It's like it's a literal job. Like healing is a job is in itself. That's what it feels like. You learn on the job, and I know that you have, and I know you like the stuff that you put out. I just sit there and nod my head. Yep, yep. Like and I love seeing you like even raising up more, saying, I don't give a fuck. Like these people, they can say this, they can say that. Like what have you got to be afraid of? You're not lying. You're
Exactly.
telling You're telling the truth. So the people who are lying, yeah, you better fucking be scared because
Exactly.
you don't get away with it. Like you might die, but you will not get away with it. And that
Exactly.
is something that I have to remind myself when I'm going through it. But I that's what I want to remind my fellow survivors, warriors, victims, whichever part you're in, that's what I want you to be. You you've already lived it, so you can keep going. You can heal. Like no, it's not ever going to go away, but you don't have to be silent. You don't have to do what we're doing. You don't have to go on social media, but you do have to tell somebody and you do have to voice it because otherwise, if you don't, they still got you and they don't deserve you. They don't deserve your silence because it's not your secret to keep. That's for them. That's you tell their secret. I'm telling their secrets. I'm not holding their secrets back. I'm telling all their secrets. I don't care. And if they do want to come after me, I want them to because I've got so much to information. I want to go to court. I want to stand in front of a judge and go, there you go. This is what I want. So that's why I put him all over Facebook and all the stuff, and my mother as well. I'm like, they're not grandparents. They don't even know their grandchildren because they put on a facade like we're amazing grandparents and da 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 da. No, these are evil people. They're not even not nice people. They're evil. Like that's, as we both know, that's something else. There's not nice people, but then there's evil people. And yeah. So sorry, I talk.
100%. No, that was so great. That's the beautiful thing about these stories that I wish people suffering knew is that you're not powerless and that when you can take when you heal from some of those emotions, whether it's confronting somebody or whether it's taking years and just like understanding what you went through, you realize that what you're afraid of with these people is are cowards that abused you when you were too weak to defend yourself, and that fear of you being powerless has carried on your whole life. And when you can sort of separate yourself from those emotions, like for example, I get people that tell me all the time, aren't you scared about what you're doing? Sure, there's a risk.
Exactly.
But what I know is that I'm calling out cowards who are little bitches who abuse children. Like who
Yes.
the hell abuses kids that they know can't protect themselves? Like, no, I'm not scared of these people. Like they're freaking cowards. If they were in front of me, they'd have that same look in their eye that you got from
Yeah,
your stepfather. They'd be
that's
looking at
right.
me cowering, because these are cowardly people that pick on kids. Like they're not scary whenever you can realize that. You realize that these are evil people, like what you said. These are people who can't pick on somebody their own size. They have to pick on little kids. Like, no, I'm not scared of them. They should be scared of us. Like they're addicted and attracted to harm and violence of things that they perceive as not being able to defend themselves. And so they're if they did it to you, like or another child, had an abuser, like they could still be doing their abuser could still be doing this to more children. That's why it's important that we stop these people and call them out because they're not like
Yep.
they're going to keep harming and harming and harming because that's what they get off on is the harm and the violence. You know what I mean? And so like I just think it's so wonderful like seeing these transformational stories of like where you came from and how you were forced to be like a quieter, more submissive child because you were in a position of having no protection. You had to go inside. You couldn't cry out for help. There was nobody to help you. But then whenever you get older, you take your power back and you throw your shame back at your abuser. And now he's the powerless one. He's the one that now is cowering. He's the one now that has to contend with you not being silent anymore. And that is a freaking beautiful thing. That is something, like you said, not everybody can do that. But if you
Right.
can, like that, we shouldn't be scared of these cowardly people. Like they need to be scared of us, and they're gonna be scared of us. The more of us that keep talking, you know. So like you go, girl. I am like fired up hearing your story and like how courageous you are. Like you said, they probably were not even expecting that at all. And here you come in and you're a warrior now.
They're like, who is this girl? We don't know who she is. I was like, oh well, too bad. So yeah, that's probably why the explanation when like I share my story, like yeah, survivors are like, oh, are you scared they're gonna come after you? Like, bring it on, like you said. Um, and that makes me sad for other people who don't have that feeling or have experience yet to experience that or may never do that. That makes me sad because
Yeah.
that, like you said, like I'm not laughing because that's my coping mechanism, but he's still alive, and my my mother is still alive. He has grandchildren, and so I speak out not just for me. This isn't really about me anymore. This is about his the next generation because as we both know, it doesn't just stop.
No.
And that's why I have gone to the police. I went immediately to the police after I did know who he was. But that's a whole nother probably story. I don't know if we got time for that. Um, so I did everything. As soon as I knew, I tried to do as much as I could to keep him out of harm's way. Like, because I knew that I wasn't in harm's way anymore, but I knew that there were other children.
Yes.
And I still am doing that till he dies. Like, I'm not gonna stop until after he dies, obviously, if anyone comes forward. And I do know that he has abused a lot. The ones that I know and murdered. I'll just say it. So yeah, that's a part of the SRA stuff. That's so he knows I know all that. And that's powerful for me. And that's why he moved back to where I grew up not long after. So that says a lot. So he's lucky he doesn't live in the same state I live. Put it that way.
He is, and I would say there's nothing lucky about him now. His luck got turned upside down because you were the one that came down and had the courage to stop this and to expose it and to break it from happening and being carried down to your own children, you know, and how validating that must have been too, because I know you said you had this natural inclination to start separating yourself from your family and to not take your child there, even though it didn't like make sense to you. And that had to have been like really powerful too, to be like, my mother's intuition and like my intuition as a woman and a human, I need to always listen to that because it was right. Like I was right to listen to that. And, you know, they could have abused your child if you would have not listened to that and kept taking him over there and, you know, doing sleepovers and stuff. Like you were the one that came down and had the courage to stop it.
I just got goosebumps. None of my five children, my son, he did see like my mother when I was there, not unsupervised, probably like 3 times, and then that was done. So none of my children have seen her or him, and that for me, if I do nothing else, like is the best thing that I think I could have done because It's not might have, he would have. There was no stopping him. And there was no stopping her in covering it up or her family. Like it would take us literally a week to even unravel. Like I won't go into it, but recently a cousin, and my actual real cousin, it's her nephew, tried to reel me back in. And this happened probably maybe November, October, November, no, maybe September, sorry, last year. And I just said all what I just said, and I'm proud of myself, but I thought that there was one person, like a cousin, that I could, like maybe I could have in my life because I've cut off every single person, like literally. And he sent me disgusting stuff. Like the way he thinks about me, the like I won't even go into because it's just disgusting. Like I'm at the age I am, he's a couple of years younger than me. So what it says to me is nothing has changed. That family has not changed. There's no going back. There's no it's you just cut it off. Cut it off. Will not let that in back into my life ever again. Yeah. So
A hard decision, but like it is such an important decision to break the cycle. If the people in the
after
family aren't willing, anybody can do what you did at some point and say, "Hey, I went through all this and it was terrible, but
yeah.
I'm going to separate myself from it. I'm going to heal. I'm going to share what happened to me, and I'm going to have nothing to do with that anymore." They could have all done that. Like it would be a blessing if like family members would choose to do that and say, "You know what? I did. I messed up a million times, but I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm sorry I did this. I'm going to admit to it. I'm going to pay whatever consequences I need to, to you and to whoever else that I
Mhm.
hurt." Like we all would want people to do that, but unfortunately that's rarely the case. Like it's a miracle that anybody gets out of all of this because of all of the control mechanisms that go into keeping this such a tight secret. But how beautiful that you not only, like I said, gifted yourself that separation, but that you were able to stop it in its tracks from ever reaching your children, and to give your children a gift that you didn't have growing up, which was protection and love and a parent who put their foot down, and stood up for them. Even though you didn't
Yeah.
even know that you were standing up for them all those times, you listened to that intuition where clearly, your own mom probably felt it on some level and didn't have the courage to stand up for you. So Lisa, it is so beautiful just watching you grow as a person, watching your voice go stronger, and you empowering all these other survivors, now, and being able to, like I said, you grew into the person and the protector and the mother and the adult that you needed as a child. And now you're spreading that gift to other people and standing up for the people that are in the same position that you were not too long ago and a long time ago as a child. So I just want to commend you for everything because it's an honor to know you and just to be able to, like I said, have you here today to finally share your story.
I haven't spoken about the ritual abuse, and I know that that's, you know, what I will say about I don't know. I will have to condense it, but I have found out like when I said to you, I did, when I would remember stuff, I get dates and times and all that kind of stuff. So what I do when I have do recall, I'll just say recall. Everyone uses different language around that. But when I did recall, like, and it'd be like a puzzle piece, like that wouldn't always be, you know, in a perfect linear sense. That yeah, it was horrific because I just thought, and I'm not pleased. I don't want anyone to think this is that I'm worse than whatever. Um, I thought I'd only been through sexual abuse by the sadist. But then I found out as I, recalled more stuff, and was going to therapy, blah, 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 that just before I even went to therapy, I was starting to write satanic symbols with my eyes closed and all this stuff, and would write stuff down. And that's how that happened. And that's when my husband and I went, whoa, what's going on here? So when I was, there are still blocks that I don't remember, but one of the worst memories for me, and I want to share this because this is a part of honoring them. The sadist got me pregnant 4 times. 2 times I had at 11 and 12. So I had a little girl. Her name was Kira. So yeah, I'll dedicate this to her. And a little boy, Joel. Sorry, I want to cry. Um, so basically all the advocacy and all the stuff that I've been doing and the police stuff is basically coming down to that I want them to be acknowledged, even if none of my stuff ever gets out or before a court. I want them, it's for them. So he he I I want to share this and then we'll probably end it, I guess. That
Okay.
he would drag me out in the middle of the night, pretty much nearly every other night. And in Melbourne, Victoria, it's cold. It was always in the winter. And because I was so, like we've said, like I was so well equipped within myself to just, like, I felt like I was an only child, I guess. Like I knew what to do. I knew the deal basically. So he would take me out, and there would be other men from where he worked, and it was just a normal suburban household. He would tie me up to clotheslines, and he would put my feet in a bucket of water, and he would electrocute me. So even though, like, I've heard so many different stories, like I thought I was crazy when I had that first memory. I like, no, I wasn't in some kind of facility or anything like that, but how did he know that? How did he know how to do stuff like that? I still don't know completely yet, but he did use all the same tactics. He would cut me in certain places where because as a child you heal really quickly, right? So they're really smart. So I'd have a tiny small scar on my upper, like, corner of my eye. It would always be on the left side of my body because I know they're sick. Like, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, they do, because they believe in Satan. So if they believe in Satan, they know that there's a God, right? So everything's inverted. So everything's on the left. So I learned this as I was remembering stuff. And because I was the eldest child and I was a girl, that's I was to be a breeder. That was my role. So he would chart my period. I got my period when I was 10. The reason why I got my period at 10, I know I'm being graphic, guys, and I'm
You're good.
whatever. He would chart it, and I thought it was my mom because my mom had a baby and she lost the baby. Well, that's what I was told. Um, but then I realized it was for me. Now, the reason why, if someone goes, oh, you can't get your period at such a young age, yes, you can. They can. I have research now because of the abuse starting so young, hormones, blah, 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 all of that kind of stuff. So I believe that, yeah, I was pregnant with her at 11. When I was 11, for some reason, they bring on the labor at 27 weeks. That was for me. Don't know why. There's maybe one or two photos of me, and I've just got baggy clothes on. I don't look, can't see a baby bump. So, like, that was really hard when I was going through police stuff. They want to know everything. And I'm like, all I could explain to them was that when I had my son, I was super small and it's just a psychological thing. Like, you know, that's all I can say. But I definitely know that it was real. The reason why I know it was real was because when I did have my son, like, I was like, I remember when I was like 11, I kept getting up during the night to go to the toilet to pee all the time. Well, that's what you do when you're pregnant. Some parts of my body were sore that shouldn't have been sore. Um, he would always, we had a shower, you have a shower door. He wouldn't fix it. He would always open the door and he obviously was checking on me. So I never could hide from him. I call him like the creeper because it didn't matter what time of the night or day, he was always there, felt like watching me, my everything. So the night that I gave birth to Kira, and I do want to share this, and it's going to be hard to probably listen to, and trigger warning, even though I don't like to do trigger warnings anymore because I'm like so fucking sick of trigger warnings. I'm like, people just need to know this shit. But trigger warning for people who are survivors. That's who I would say. But if you're not, you need to listen to this shit because this is what these evil assholes do. So I just innocently got up to go to the toilet during the night because I needed to pee for the 100th time. And he was there. He was in his like full, like, because he was a truck driver and he had his own truck, he had his own hours. He could do pretty much, whatever he wanted, basically. So and we lived in a house where it was like a really long house. So we actually had, which was weird for the 70s, 80s. It was in the 80s. It was 1986. He, we had our own bathroom, toilet, all that kind of stuff. And they lived up the front of the house. So um, I just thought, I'd always be extra quiet because I didn't want to wake them up. And he was just there, like, um, and he said to me, and most of my memories, I can't hear him. I can just, it's still like a blockage, like of his voice. I can see him and I can see his lips moving, but I can't hear him. But I heard this and he said, "What are you doing?" And the most innocent thing, and I had friends that lived across the road and I told them that I was pregnant. And, we're kids. They laughed at me. They're like, "No, you're not," blah, blah, blah. And so I must have known, right? And I said to him, "I'm having a baby." And he goes, "No, you're not." And then he kicked me. He had like wore, their boots, work boots, whatever, kicked me really hard in the stomach. And I thought he'd left. I went into labor. I didn't know what. Went to go to the toilet because I thought, I needed to go to the toilet. And I caught her. And I don't like when I had this memory, I literally, Emma, I thought that they were gonna have to put me back into the hospital. Well, actually, I did go back into hospital. That's another. I'll share that in the next one. Um, I don't know how I knew what to do. So I grabbed her. I was extremely quiet. I don't remember screaming, but when I did go into therapy, I did do all the screaming and all that kind of stuff. But I think I did just keep quiet. Don't know how because I didn't for my other births. But she was so tiny. I think I heard her cry, but that could just be me. I don't know, but I believe I heard her cry. She had so much black hair. She was she's just beautiful. And so I had this thing about white, and I know a lot of survivors do. It's also like it was a thing about being clean. And so I found a white towel, and I was bleeding. I know that sounds horrible. That's what happens when you give birth. And all I could think was, I'm going to get in trouble because the house is going to be dirty. Like I've got to clean it up. But I grabbed a towel and I wrapped her up. And as any woman who has given birth knows, there is a placenta. So I walked into the kitchen, don't know how, holding her. We used to always have a heap of newspapers. Grabbed a newspaper, grabbed a pair of scissors, cut the cord, wrapped the placenta up, and then tried to wrap a towel around myself because I knew I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble because I'm bleeding, not knowing that he was still hovering around because I thought he'd just left, gone to a job or something. And I was in the laundry, which was straight off the toilet, and I was just holding her. And I prayed and I said a prayer to God, and I don't want to share that because that's just special to me. And um, then he was like, then I felt like a knife in my back. It felt sharp, and he made me walk outside. I thought he was gone, and we had like a side. You've gone green again. Side, um, like a I don't know. It's like a side where you walk out and there's like you have your garbage bins and stuff, and then there was like a little gate that you'd go out to the front of the house. He made me go out through that gate. It was freezing cold. I just remember I would have been in shock as well, obviously. And I was still holding her, and I can still smell her, like even now, like that. I know the baby smell. Um, and he opened up the back of the truck, and there was two chairs. It was like he had it all set up before. Like he tied me to a chair. He raped me. This is like after I've given birth to her. He took her off me and he threw her against the wall of the truck, the inside wall of the truck. And I don't remember much after, I don't really remember much like how. Then I got to where he worked. It was called like the depot. And I didn't even know when I was giving my statement. This is when I gave my statement when I was 24, when I remembered. I didn't even really know back then because I didn't have anything, no reference to anything like this. And there was an incinerator. So I'm assuming that the incinerator was for like to get rid of boxes and stuff that they didn't need to use, but it was on and it was in the like middle of the night. There's no one else around that I remember because there could have been, but because when you're in that, like I've been told you can be very tunnel vision and you're just concentrating on that. So he had her and he had a spade, like a massive spade, and he put her on the spade and he put her in 3 times. Put her in, out. Well, it felt like forever. In, out, in, out. And then he wrapped her up, gave her back to me, drove us back. I don't remember the drive back, drove us back to my house. And we had a little shed out the back. And sometimes he would put me and my sibling in there just for fun and leave us in there. And I thought that's what was going to happen. But behind the shed, because our dogs, we had our 2 little dogs, would put sand like sand in the back, so for their poop. And he it was a full moon. That the reason why I know that was because it was so bright, like because you couldn't put lights on, and there was no, I wasn't never didn't speak, didn't say a word. And he had a box. He put her in the box. He dug a hole. He made me stand there and watch. Dug a hole in the back behind the shed where he would put my dog's excrement, which was even more disgusting. Dug a hole, and then he just left me. Then he walked back into the house and left me. And all I remember is going back inside, cleaning up as much as I could, put a bath on, put myself to bed, woke up in a pool of blood. And my mom came into my room in the morning and she told me, "Oh, you got your period. You're staying home today." And she made me like, she would make me really nice food and stuff like that after a really bad ritual or anything like that. That was it. And so, yeah, so to this day, like that's my main, I'll maybe talk about the other one another time, but yeah. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Oh my God. What a monster. No wonder why you call him the sadist. I mean, even without that story, he deserved that name, but that is just horrendous to put you through that and to do it so deliberately. Like you said, it was all planned out. Like this is the type of person that we are dealing with here. It is a psychopath. This is somebody pure evil,
Yep.
and the fact that, you had to endure that and so young, like I can't even imagine how horrifying that must have been for you and how sad and like you had nobody to turn to. You didn't have a mom that you could go run to. You didn't have anybody there that could like comfort you. And I can't even imagine like trying to contend with that all alone. Like what an amazing human you have become despite all of that. Like you could have become so bitter and like you could have became that evil, and like nobody would ever
Yeah.
know meeting you that you went through all of that. And I know like you said, there's so much more too that you went through. Like this is just it's just scratching the surface, and God, I'm just so sorry. Like I'm so terribly sorry that you went through all of that. That is, and thank you for sharing because I know that as hard as it is, people do have to know about it. And there's people on the other side of the screen right now that feel less alone and validated because they went through the same thing, something very similar. So thank you for speaking. For all
I
the
hope.
children that aren't here, thank you for speaking. Like you're giving Kira a voice today and you're letting her story be heard. It's so sad that she didn't get to have a life. And I'm so sorry. You're a hero. Thank you for acknowledging her, for for sharing her story. It's so sad.
You want to cry? Sorry.
No, I'm sorry too.
I'll show you one more picture and then we'll probably go. But this is a good picture. I know it's black and white, but this
Yeah,
is,
I'll minimize my screen for a second.
oh, it's an old one, but it's of my whole family, like my kids.
Oh,
My, they're little.
well, they're so cute.
And
Look how beautiful
they're
you
all,
are too.
they're all grown up now, but they're still living at home. One's about to move, so I think I did something good.
You did something very good. You did something very good, Lisa. Oh my gosh.
Sorry. I, I wanted to end it off with it, and I'll just one more. This is my he's my eldest. I was in a hospital, just got out of hospital there, so you wouldn't know though. So
That's so
yeah,
sweet.
yeah. And they're all like my best friends, so I didn't know that would happen, but you know, it's amazing. Oh,
Absolutely
now I
incredible.
crack my make. Thanks, Emma.
I know, me too. I don't even wear like a lot of make I always cry, so I try not to wear a lot of makeup anymore because it would just like run down my face. But like, man, how do you not just like and this
I
is
don't know.
how like this is how we bring like if people like knew the level of depravity, like everybody would care. This is how we get people in the streets and caring about this is by them understanding the horrors that these people do and that it's just unfathomable to most normal people, that actual human beings outside of the movies, outside of a horror film, could do such depraved, vile, disgusting things to children.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. And good for you again for calling him out, for confronting him, for putting that shame back where it belongs, and for making him fear for his life because he should. And I hope he watches this. I hope he watches this. I hope he's scared every day that he lives in that same fear that you did growing up, just horrifying.
Don't, don't worry, he does.
I'm sure he does. He's probably been more scared than you ever were because you've always been a warrior. Um,
Thank you.
and so like I said, like you have like a whole other part of your story. I know you may still have some memories and like I said, I want to do at least another part with you where maybe we talk more about some of these memories and then we can talk about how you healed from these types of things, your process and how love affected you, the advocacy work that you do. And maybe answer questions. If there's people that have questions, leave them below too. And maybe we can, answer some questions that you guys have also. But you are very accessible online, which I love. You've taken your advocacy to online. So I want you to share where people can connect with you and follow you.
Yes. Oh gosh. Um, I'm gonna have to. I'm so terrible. I was gonna write it down. It's It's L. Are you there? Oh,
Yep.
there you go. Yeah, you've got all the stuff. Thank you, because I can't. Yeah, I spend most of my time on Instagram, guys, because I don't know how to work TikTok, and now like or Facebook. But my DMs are opened, and I usually pretty quick because I don't have it. I'm not working or anything, but I will answer questions if I can answer them. If I can't, I will let you know. I'm pretty straight up, so. But yeah, I'm very accessible.
She is. And your
And I love
Instagram
it.
handle is Lisa_N_Gillard. And I'll have that in the show notes for you guys. And then you are also like you started to be more active on Twitter too, which I love. You're on there.
I am on Twitter. I haven't been on I don't know. I'm not very good at it, but I'm getting there.
Yes, you are. And your handle here is Lisa Grace. It looks like justice, but it's spelled Justyc. And so I'll have that
Yes.
in the show notes too. And you said you don't use TikTok too much?
I I don't because well, I want to, but I'm just learning, Emma.
I gotcha. Yep. And the TikTok ban like just ended today, which is funny. So now we get to
I
learn
know.
more. And that's Lisa Gillard 7 on there, and I'll have that in the show notes too. And are you on any other social platforms? These were the three that I mostly connect with you on. You're on Facebook?
I've got Facebook, which
Okay.
is just Lisa Gillard,
Okay.
and I I connected to Rumble, but I don't know how to use that either. So
Gotcha. So I would encourage you guys to please go follow and uplift Elisa. She's very active online, like she said, and so many of you always ask, well, what can I do? What can I do? If you want something really easy to do, go follow and support survivors, share their content, record their videos and go share them on different social platforms, comment and bring awareness because this information does get suppressed. So when you like or comment or share a post, it also helps give survivors more visibility in the algorithms, which is a huge gift. And it's something free and easy that you guys can do. And if you guys have questions for Lisa, if you guys have information that could help corroborate her story, if you want to connect with a new friend, Please reach out to her and message her on these platforms and, and connect you guys. That's one of the beautiful things about social media. Like Lisa said, when she first started whistleblowing, like all this stuff didn't exist. Like we're so lucky that we can connect now. And Lisa, I think, knows how lucky we are, and she takes full advantage of it, and she'll be the first one to be your cheerleader too. So please go support her and connect with her. And Lisa, just such an honor to have you on. I know that these conversations aren't easy, but they're necessary. And I just, you're so brave for having done this for so long, and that you're still going. You're stronger than ever. You never gave up. You never stopped. And I feel like you're just getting started. So thank you with all my heart for coming and sharing the highs,
Love you.
the lows, and all your wisdom with us today.
Thank you for having me. I love you. And I'm just so grateful that you're doing what you're doing because I prayed for women like you to do this. So thank you.
My honor, Lisa. It'll be the hill I die on. I'm always here for you. And you have a whole army behind you now. There's a lot of us now, which is wonderful. And that's just building. So you guys
Oh, keep going. Sorry.
keep being cheerleaders for all of us, you guys. Go follow Lisa. I'll have all her information in the show notes. I'll have all mine too. Keep up with us on different platforms in case something happens. We just had a TikTok ban, like I said. They can just take us away in a second if they want to. So try to keep up with us on multiple platforms if you can. Reach out to Lisa, go lift her up, show her some love. And we love you guys. Couldn't do this without you. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we will see you next time.